Hey there everybody, Brad Geiger here with another episode of Webcomics Confidential. And today I was not planning on doing a video, you can tell because I didn't shave this morning. But I saw something on Facebook that got my ire up so badly that I decided that instead of sit and stew about it, I would turn the video monitor on and start talking. It's a lot easier that way. The topic here is kind of a split topic. The real umbrella topic is understanding a group business better than you do right now, or better than most of us do. Specifically, we're going to talk about anthologies. But this goes even further than anthologies. One of these days, I think I'll have to do a video that's just titled, I Hate Anthologies, and talk about why that is. So we'll talk about anthologies specifically, but really the umbrella term here is understanding the realities of a group business. So let me tell you what kicked this off. I read this on Facebook in one of the many web cartoonist Facebook groups. And this person basically is advocating that web cartoonists should break into the direct market. In other words, break into comic shops because that's going so well. Break into comic shops because Marvel is faltering, and web cartoonists are going to compete for the many dollars that are just lying around untouched at comic book retail stores by putting anthologies together. And this person's idea is you get together with a group of 5 friends, you put together a big anthology that you can publish on a regular basis, and you go out and get that into Diamond, get that into the pipeline, and then magically money happens. Let's start here. Just number one, the number one reason that this is not going to work as well as this person thinks it will. And that is, frankly, that as soon as one person misses their deadline, this whole anthology is shot. And you have no concept. Maybe you're the one, maybe you're the one that is constantly missing deadlines, or maybe you have such an easy job with deadlines that you can't imagine anyone having a problem with this. The fact of the matter is, this is a huge problem for a lot of people. And what you're asking them to do is have camera-ready art ready to go, perfect. The colors trapped, rich blacks, all of that stuff ready to go, so you can plug that into your page template. And oh, by the way, let's hope everybody's using the same aspect ratio for their page sizes, because let's remember, this is all going to go into the same book. So now you got to get everybody on the same page with their page dimensions, physically on the same page, and you're counting on them not only to get their work done on time, but you're counting on them to send you perfect camera-ready art, because if their stuff prints shitty, it's going to reflect on the whole book. So this isn't something that you have the option to skimp on. It's got to be good, and it's got to be on time. Right there, you've wiped out 95%, easily 95%, of the people who would be available to work on you with this project. You've already wiped it out. If you make it past your first month, you are amazingly lucky. And if you make it to the second month, forget about it. You're never going to make it to 3. All of those things combined are going to keep you from doing this on a regular basis, okay? Number 2, quality. Let's just talk about quality for just a second, because one of the things this person was purporting was that you could have professional level people headlining this book, and then you could get rookies in to get them exposure to a larger audience and also get them paid. And it's a very kind-hearted sentiment. It's a nice thing, But and by the way, when we do I Hate Anthologies, this is going to be number one on the list. The problem with anthologies is that you've got a wide range of quality. Every time I read through an anthology, it's like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is horrible. You keep turning pages and you either go good or horrible, good or horrible. Nobody wants, I can't say nobody wants because people clearly buy anthologies. I hate them. I hate them because I like one story and I hate the next, and I don't like that experience. That's exactly what's going to happen with if you start to combine pro level work and rookie level work. You're going to have a collection that reflects that big variance in quality. I think that's a bad way to run a book, but that's just me. Now, this person, I kind of responded. I responded, I think, 2 times on this Facebook page, and he had answers for everything I said, of course, but they weren't realistic. Because he's like, oh, well, if somebody turns in something that's not up to quality, you just tell them, hey, this isn't up to quality, and you replace it with somebody else. Like that's going to be easy to do. So now, stop. Put yourself in that situation. You've got somebody who thought he was going to be part of this anthology, and now you're telling him or her that their stuff isn't good enough and that they're not going to be part of this anthology. And you think that's going to go smooth? That's going to cause a shitstorm that's going to either sideline this project or wipe it out completely. And don't think for a second that it's not. Stop and think about this. Put yourself in the real world situation of how that actually goes down. There's hurt feelings, there's bad bloods. This person's going to now try to take you down on social media because you hurt their feelings. This doesn't go well. This doesn't go well at all. So even if you beat the deadline game, now you got to play the quality game. And you're going to be the gatekeeper now that decides that this person's quality isn't good enough, even though maybe it isn't. You're in trouble. You're in big trouble. But let's take those issues. All of those issues are simple compared to the next one. The next one is where the rubber meets the road. And it's the reason that I recorded this video is because it's the thing that none of us web cartoonists think about when we're pie in the skying this idea of, hey, let's put on a show when we decide to do these anthology books. Who's going to run the business? That's the big question. And if it's a question that you're not asking, you need to stop. You need to stop for a second and ask yourself why you're not asking that question. It's the most important question that you can ask. And if you're not asking those kind of questions, you're setting yourself up for a lot of trouble down the line when this stuff comes back and bites you in the ass. Let's talk about it just for a second. Let's go over the broad strokes, and then we'll start to get specific. Who's going to run? If you're doing this anthology, you're basically launching a small self-publishing business. Who's going to run the business? You're going to have one person. Let's think about this in real terms. You start the anthology. What are you going to do? Number one, either somebody's going to have to write the check to publish this thing, or someone's going to have to be the front person for the Kickstarter, right? Somebody's got to write the check. Okay, so now you've got the Kickstarter money. You've launched this thing through a Kickstarter. Fantastic. Good job on you. Whose bank account does that money go to? Whomever takes that responsibility has the tax responsibility. Now, they've got to be the person to write all the checks to make this thing happen, whether that's promotion or when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, printing, shipping, fulfilling shipments, getting those shipments, packaging up those books and sending them to Diamond, unless you arrange for your printer to drop it right at Diamond, if you can get them to cooperate with you on that and divide it up among all the different warehouses and all that kind of stuff. Take it from someone who's done that. It's not nearly as simple as you think it is, but you've got a number of bills you got to write now. Okay, you've got to write at least for the printing, probably for the shipping, maybe a little bit for promotion. Now you've got this book out there. You've written all these checks. You've got to account for that when tax time comes. And when the money comes in, if the money comes in, now you've got to write checks to each of your cohorts. Now, this is where it really gets a little bit complicated. And I'll say right up front, I'm not a CPA. You should not be relying on me to give you tax advice. If you are, you're an idiot. But here's what I know from my own personal experience. And that is, you're going to have to account for that. You're going to have to pay those people. Now, if you pay them more, if you're lucky enough that each one of these persons gets above like $500 or $600, you've crossed the threshold where you now have to collect W-2s from those people and give them 1099s at the end of the year, doing a formal accounting of where the money went. And as you're doing your accounting on your taxes for this anthology, you've got to account for any extra money. And here's where it gets really sticky, and I would need to go to a CPA to ascertain how this breaks. But let's say you've done this. The money has gone into your Kickstarter account. You've done the Kickstarter. The money goes into your bank account, and you've written the checks for the printing. Those are deductions. You've written checks to your cohorts. Those are deductions. Now you've got the money left over that technically should be your share. But But do you have to pay taxes on that, or can you make yourself a separate contractor for that? You'd have to write a W-2 to yourself. I don't know how that works, but I know this. It frightens the shit out of me, and it should frighten the shit out of you, and you should have that answer before you start, because you need to know the tax hit that you're liable to take if you're going to take this responsibility on. Now, you can say, oh, well, somebody else is going to handle that. Joey over there. Joey, hey, Joey. Joey's going to take care of that. He says he's got it all. If Joey doesn't do that right, if Joey doesn't do his or her, Joey could be a woman, who knows? If Joey doesn't do their job right, if Joey doesn't do their accounting right, that could come back and bite you in the ass. At some point, heaven forbid this thing becomes successful, Uncle Sam's going to come around and ask for an accounting of where the money went. And if you're a part of this project, you're going to be one of these people that gets asked that question. Now, that alone should frighten you to death. And I'll tell you right now, that's kept me out of doing a lot of projects, because I could see from the outset that these people didn't know anything or didn't care about the accounting of all of this. Who's going to take the tax hit on these issues? And are you willing, if Joey decides to take the tax hit, are you willing to give Joey a bigger cut in return for the fact that he may take the tax cut, or it might be her taxes that are impacted by all of this? Are you willing to give this mythological Joey a bigger cut? Joey deserves that just for the accounting that they're taking on. But if you're not thinking about these, if you're not asking these questions, then you deserve every bit of headache that's going to come and it's going to come your way. You deserve everything that's coming your way if you're not cognizant enough of thinking about these issues. These are big issues. So in wrapping this whole thing up, before you join a group project, number one, be aware that one person missing their deadline is going to bring the whole thing to a crashing halt. Number two, somebody who doesn't know how to prepare camera ready, print ready. I'm showing my age there, camera ready. If you're not able to prepare print ready PDFs, you're sunk. And forget about trying to enforce quality. That's going to cause all kinds of trouble. And even if you get past 1, 2, and 3, by all means, take a few seconds and consider the business application of this. Whose bank account is going to take the tax hit for all of this? That money is coming in. It's got to be accounted for. Money's got to be shown going out. And unless you are somehow able to make yourself a independent contractor, if you're the business person, you may end up being the only person who gets that a tax hit out of that money. And it may be to an unfair degree. So, before you get involved in any of that, and again, I'm not a CPA, you're going to want to talk to your CPA. And also, I would imagine it could vary from state to state. So, get your CPA if you're going to do this. Get your CPA involved in this and say, okay, walk me through how this works. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know how that works. I would certainly, if I was thinking about doing this, I would be on the phone to my CPA. We'd be having a long talk. But I'll be honest with you, 1, 2, and 3 kept me out of even getting as far as number 4. But if you do get as far as number 4, by all means, talk to your CPA and find out if you're the point person, if you're the business person that bank accounts is going to be impacted by this. Know what you're getting into. And if you're not, you better really trust the person who is, because I'm telling you, if that person drops the ball and it comes back and bites you in the ass, you can't sit there and say, well, I didn't know that was going to happen, because you've already watched this far in the video and now you know that that's a possibility. This is Brad Geiger, Webcomics Confidential, an exclusive for webcomics.com members. You got some comments? Maybe you're a CPA. Maybe you can enlighten me on a few things. Hit those comments down below and let's talk about this. And remind me sometime, we'll just do a whole hour on why I hate anthologies. But man, you pretty much got the overview. If you get as far as 1, 2, and 3 and 4 doesn't stop you, then you've got a perspective on this that I'd love to hear about. Hit me in the comments. Thank you so much, Webcomics Confidential, and we'll see you next time.